Hello, friends, and welcome to another garden walk and talk. It's been a while because we've just had so much rain in the north of England, which is where I am. And I decided to do this quick walk and talk when we had a break from the rain. But literally, if you get to the end of this video, you'll see that it started raining just after I'd finished recording this. And it's just been the weirdest thing that we've been having. But currently in my garden, the first thing that I wanted to show is these beautiful irises. They're white with a bit of a yellow center and they're absolutely gorgeous. And they're in the same pot where I did like a bulb lasagna with the ranunculus. And this is something that I bought from a big box store called B&Q, and it's supposed to provide flowers for you throughout summer. And I must say, so far, it's looking really good. I love those irises. They're on the patio and it's really beautiful. The other thing that's blooming on my patio is the hostas. They always send up some flower spikes, and those will last for about a couple of weeks or so. So really lovely color and interest on the patio at the moment with these irises. I need to find out what these are called because I need to get more of those to put into the main part of the garden. The tomatoes are going really strong, and I've been trying very hard to keep up with trimming the side shoots. The yellow courgette plant is also doing quite well in the pot because it's against a warm wall and it's going really well. So I got some cuttings of a rose from my neighbor. She has this beautiful climbing rose. She gave me some cuttings which I put in some hormonal rooting powder and I just put in this compost, and they're beginning to bud. And it's so exciting for me because this is the first time that I've tried to do this and it seems to be working. So fingers crossed I'll be able to have a lovely rambling rose just like the one that my neighbor has. And you can see that on a previous video. I'll link it in the description box down below, but it's a really beautiful rose. So everything else, like the marigolds, they're beginning to show now, which I think is pretty early for me because normally I don't expect the marigolds to come until July here in the north of England. But everything is just a little bit topsy-turvy. As I said, with the weather, it's been raining and stopping and basically having all four seasons in one day. And I've just been trying my best to keep up with it. The pond is coming on very strong. So the previous weekend, we spent a little bit of time just in the pond area with my husband. I was weeding all the outskirts, the sides of the pond, and he was weeding the water because there's a water weed that grows on the surface. Our neighbor has this lovely bush that has these white flowers and the petals are falling like snow into the water, and it just looks very pleasant as they swirl around in the water. So the pond is looking much better now that we've gotten rid of most of the weeds that were beginning to take over, and it's been lovely to see the dragonflies. So we do have a lot of dragonflies that actually come back to our pond every year to mate and to raise baby dragonflies. So that's been really wonderful to see. The hardy geranium is still going very strong, and that will just be popping those lovely pink flowers throughout summer. The other thing that we did was to clean up the trees in the pond area, just to chop off all of the suckers and side shoots, and it looks really quite good. Now over onto the south facing border, there isn't much interest going on at the moment, and I'm just identifying some gaps that need to be filled because currently it's only the Ivan, which is this hardy geranium called Ivan, and it has this bright magenta, and it's the only one that's got some floral interest over there. The grass that I laid out a couple of weeks ago is doing really well, is getting really lush and verdant, and we'll be able to mow it in another 3 weeks. That's when we'll be able to mow it. But yes, I've definitely marked this area for a lot of work. However, one of the showstoppers that I'm absolutely loving is this Clematis, which I have been looking after this for about 6 years now, and it is finally flowering abundantly on both sides of the trellis. And I am so happy. I don't know what the name of this is because I bought it from a discount shop called Wilkinson's, which sadly has shut down here in England. And I only got it for £2.99, and it was only a tiny little thing. This is my section of shame because it has just gone completely overgrown with weeds. There are some raspberry canes in there, and you can see some of the raspberries getting ready, but it's not going to be easy to pick at them, and I definitely need to do a lot of work here. I was pleasantly surprised to find that some of the nasturtium in this area is already flowering. The nasturtium self-seeds itself. It's a little bit weedy in that regards, but I don't mind too much because over winter the frost completely kills it off. The apples in the apple tree are coming along quite nicely, and there's been a lot of tiny little apples that are falling off, and we're having to keep on top of clearing them off of the grass. So coming on further into the south-facing border over here, I'm very disappointed in the peony. It doesn't have any buds at all, but lower down here where I planted out the mauve's bowl, that's doing quite well. It's made some new flower stalks with new flowers, and that's going to fill that space very beautifully. The sedum is beginning to have the flower stalks. However, I really need to divide this. It has grown far bigger than I expected it to ever grow, so I'll need to rethink its location. Over here I have a shrub called a dogwood, and it's in glorious bloom at the moment. It has these lovely white flowers, and we've been trying to train it to become more like a tree. But this clematis I am so happy about. So it's a variety called Supernova, and this one is new. I actually bought this one last year and I planted it out, and it was bigger than the usual clematis that I buy. This was a 2-year-old pot grown, and it was in a 2-liter pot, so it was quite big because all of the clematis that I was buying were so small they'd get eaten up by slugs for most of the part. So I decided to investigate something a bit more substantial, and it is looking lovely. I'm very, very happy with that. And the idea is that those clematis are going to climb all over the trellis. So moving over to the other side of the south-facing border, the lupin is doing incredibly well. I just cannot believe how much this has just grown with so many towers and so much color that's provided with that beautiful structure. Really impressed with it. The other things don't seem to be doing quite as well. My peas, my sweet peas, they haven't gone further up the obelisk, and the ever ongoing saga of the Globemaster allium is just gotten ridiculous now. They've grown taller than me, they've grown taller than my husband, and there's still no sign of them blooming, so I have no idea. However, the golden aquilasia, the golden queen aquilasia, is still going strong, friends. This is a really wonderful aquilasia to have, and it looks so beautiful against the white astrantia, although I do need to move those around because they are too closely planted, and yeah, that will create problems in the future. But yeah, again, not a lot going on in that particular area. But over here we've got the Campanula that has just gone absolutely mental and is taking over all of the rocks. The roses are also doing quite well ever since I figured out that I wasn't mulching them and I wasn't giving them adequate water. And the moment I started doing that, they were producing so much more new growth and so many new buds. So that's been gratifying to realize that it was my fault, because if it's my fault, it's something that I can fix and it's nothing to do with inherently the plant itself. So that was quite good to learn. So this shrub rose that came with the house, so I don't know what it is really coming strong with a lot of buds. but I'll just need to make sure that I prune it properly this coming winter. Nasturtiums are going absolutely mental. I normally just leave them to grow over this area so that they can cover over the rocks, and there's also some unsightly things in the boundary between the flower bed and the vegetable garden side. And so by the end of summer, they will just have completely taken over that area. So we did mow the grass, and we've been trying to do a lot of weeding just to keep things nice and neat. And you can see over there the little plum fruits are coming into play. The branches are already beginning to bend over from the weight of the growing fruit. The Johnson's blue is still going very strong on that side of the pergola. I need to buy a rose to plant on that side of the pergola. But the Zephyrin Druhin on this side, ever since I've been mulching it and watering it, can you see all the new growth that has just been shooting from it? Because it's been given what it needs, and we even have some buds on it, so absolutely wonderful. But as well, even though I was mulching for the rose, the Clematis that's on this side has just been going mental as well. It's actually climbing up the trellis. So very gratifying again to realize that it was a fixable issue. It was basically me not nurturing the roses in the way that they were supposed to be nurtured. The runner beans are sprouting and getting ready to run, so that's really good. So even though it's been raining, it is warm enough for the seeds to germinate and to continue growing, but it's just meant that we haven't been able to do as much around the garden as we would love to. So the carrots, I think that's called Autumn King, that's going strong. The courgette is already got some flowers that are beginning to form a little fruit, which is really awesome because I love picking homegrown courgettes. Some of the shallots are beginning to bulb out, and in fact the onions will be ready very soon for picking. Those are the leeks that are growing really quite nicely, and those won't be harvested until after the winter. Butternut squash is not looking as good, but I'm going to keep an eye on it and try and give it some TLC. Our purple sprouting broccoli has survived the slug attacks, so we're now at a stage where we're worried about the birds, so hence the agromesh to keep the birds off. These onions are now ready to be picked because most of them have flopped over, because that's how you know they're ready for harvesting. It's when the stem softens up at the neck and then they just sort of flop over. So I just need to get a day when it's not going to be raining at all and I can harvest those properly. Over here, the sweet peas, they're coming along quite nicely, and these will need to just be given some support. They are dwarf sweet peas, but they will need something to help them grow on. And it's the same here with the French beans. So the dwarf French beans, they aren't growing as fast as the sweet peas, but I'm hoping that, they're taking it slow because it means that they'll have high quality. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, I also need to tidy up the pots. They've got some weeds growing. So we have the vegetable garden, and there's a lot of tidying up work that needs to be done, basically. But I think a gardener's work is never done, is it? So the other thing that I wanted to show you was this lovely Floribunda red rose. It's a really deep carmine red. This came with the house, and it's got a really old rootstock, and it looks like it's more than 20 years old, but it is beautiful. It has this really popping red flowers, and I've also been mulching and watering this in the same way that I've been doing with the other roses, and it has just gone completely mental. And I also have a fuchsia bush over here, which I cut right back last winter, and it's just sent out some new shoots, so that is going to be quite exciting. Moving back on over to the patio, I have the peas, the sweet peas. I built up a structure for them to go up, and hopefully I'll be having some flowers pretty soon. It does feel like the sweet peas are a bit late, but the marigolds are quite early, because even my little window box that I have by the side of my door has got some of the, I think these ones I think that they're French bouquet or honeycomb marigolds. I love having pots of marigold around over summer. And then my hanging basket is looking quite nice. I bought, so the original one came in a red plastic thing from Lidl, but then I got a nicer woven looking one from a garden center. And it was just dry enough for the kids to come out and play some badminton, but not even an hour later, lovelies, it was back to the rain. And you can see on there, I just was absolutely laughing hysterically at how the weather had just changed from all of that sunshine to the rain. And that's what's been going on in the garden. So I'm hoping that with the forecast for more sun after the summer solstice, that we'll be able to get more gardening done. Thank you so much for visiting with us today. Until I see you next time, I wish you blue skies, health, and happiness. Bye.